All right, guys, welcome back to the SHM podcast presented by Hockey Trend. A very special guest today, good friend of mine, Nick Pastorious, OHL alumni. Welcome to the show, Pasto.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
So, getting right into things, we'll go back to you as a child. What kind of got you into hockey and made you want to start playing hockey?
Oh, that's a pretty easy answer, I guess. I mean, I just always loved the game, right? When I was younger, watching the NHL, watching professional hockey, and, kind of just growing up in Canada. Obviously, it's one of those things. And started off at the age, I think, of 6 or 8, a little bit later. And then, just kind of took off from there. Just always loved the game.
Now, jumping ahead a little bit up into your minor midget year, kind of take us through that and talking to OHL teams as something that was probably new to you.
Yeah, well, starting first off with the team I was playing for, the Mississauga Rebels, 96 Rebels, I strongly believe that we could arguably go down as one of, the best teams in minor hockey history, at least in GTHL history. We had a ton of guys on that team. We were, we stuck together for about 4 years before that. We won pretty much everything that you could think of during that time. And then going into our minor midget year, being a fan of the OHL and everything the year before, seeing OHL games, and just really being excited to be part of that. Going into that minor midget year is always a huge year for anybody of that age. And for me personally, I had my sights set on playing in the OHL and, hopefully getting drafted that year. And it was a big thing being able to speak to agents and scouts, and, that is really the first taste for players and for myself of, bigger time hockey.
Now, you went on to play U18 year. Just take us through that before jumping into junior and what that kind of helped develop you into.
Yeah, so that year, actually, I had gotten injured in my first OHL camp. So that was something that I had to work to come back from, a little bit of adversity at a younger age. I played U18, I think it was 5 or 6 games before getting called back up to the OHL. I think that year I was playing for the Marlies, actually, which was funny because in the previous years before that, they were a big rival team for us. And the situation there was great as a player in the under 18 age group. Got back into it, got healthy, got my legs back under me, and it was great for me to see a lot of different in-game looks before going back and, officially starting my OHL career, which then that year, due to other injuries and, guys on the team being filled up, I was up and down in junior and in the O. So it was, really healthy for me to experience the different types of atmospheres and cultures involved.
Now, obviously, every player goes through a little bit of adversity in their career. Just talk about that. You're up in U18 at one point. Now you're playing Junior A and playing the OHL as well.
Yeah, I actually went through a lot of adversity that year because that year I actually ended off that season with a concussion, which stunk. But going through adversity, especially as a younger person, depending on how people deal with it, it can be healthy, it can be unhealthy, right? It just all really depends on what's going on, how you deal with it, what specifically happens. For me, I was able to turn that into a good experience to help me grow, help me learn, and early on in my career, I learned what it was to be mentally tough, and to start building that mental toughness and learning how to be.
And then next year you make the jump up to the OHL full time for the next 4 years. Just take us through the start of that year and finally realizing, okay, I'm in the OHL and the dreams come true.
Yeah, well, I would say that happened in my 16-year-old year, just even stepping on the ice for the first time. Being a third-round draft pick to the Sioux in 2012 in that year, and then being able to play in that same year was something special. Things were really coming together, and it really was a taste of professional hockey kind of on a smaller scale, being major junior. But then going into that next year, it was a good start to the year. I had a lot of experience, created a lot of good relationships. And then I think it was halfway through that year, I got traded to Barrie from the Sioux, which was awesome. I really enjoyed being in Barrie as well. And yeah, going through that year and learning as well, and continuing to, think, I'm a younger player in the league at this point, lots to learn. There's a lot of guys I got the opportunity and was blessed to play with and learn from, and, seeing the magnitude of their careers and the different paths of some other guys. It was really cool to see and be a part of, especially early on.
Now, obviously, as a 16, 17-year-old, you're up in Sault Ste. Marie, about probably 7 or 8 hours from here, and then get moved to Barrie, so you're a little closer to home. How special is that, playing there for a bit, having your family come out a lot more, I'm assuming?
Well, it's good, yeah. My parents, when I was in the Sioux, were road warriors. It's a tough drive up into the Sioux, but they pretty much came every other weekend. They saw as much hockey as they possibly could. My dad never liked to miss a game, so even when we were on the road playing in Sudbury, or he'd always make the trip as well. But then being traded to Barrie, I had a couple of friends on that team, so that was kind of special for me. A couple of people that I grew up with, and then obviously being an hour closer, more family and more friends could come see me play then. And that was a lot of fun, being able not only to play for the fans there, because and even in the Sioux, they had great fans as well. Both organizations have great cultures. But obviously for anybody, being able to play in front of friends and family is just that much more special.
Now, before we get into Barrie, one guy that we definitely do have to talk about that was there coaching you, Dale Howard-Chalk.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, unfortunately, passed away a couple of years ago, but just talk about what Dale meant to you as a coach and as a friend.
Dale's got to be one of the best coaches I've ever played for. Obviously, he was one of the best players to play the game, and I think for him, that translated directly into his coaching career. And I think you would hear that from anybody else who played for him. There isn't enough good things to say about him as a coach and as a person. Really comfortable feel in the room. He was a player's coach. You could go to him with anything, that even if it wasn't related to hockey. If you had other problems going on, he was always there to listen. I remember going on in his office, he had that brown couch, just sitting. At some points, even me and the guys would just go and hang out in there too. So he really had an open lines of communication for him and his players. He was always out in the room. He was chatting to guys. And even as a coach, he still had it. Right? He that never left him. I've never met somebody with more knowledge of the game. He just, the game of hockey was just his life, and it shows in his careers and everything. And like I mentioned, you can't say enough good things about Dale. It's very unfortunate, but his legacy does live on. Right, he's got a great family. I was blessed to play with his son Ben too. We were stallmates for a bit, and we were teammates. He was there in Barrie for a while, he really created a special atmosphere there in the Barrie locker room.
Now, obviously, your first little bit in the OHL, you're playing in the Western Conference, adapting to Eastern Conference when you get to Barrie. How different was that, facing a bunch of new teams you played a lot?
You know what, man? Not that different. For me, it's all about how you prepare, and especially being in those dressing rooms, everybody's prepared, right? Especially in the OHL, you got the scouting reports, you do team video, you got, obviously there's good players all over the league. And that's a year-by-year thing. There's always good players all over the league. So, for me, it's another game of hockey, the game that we love to play, that we've grown up playing, and then obviously you prepare for specific teams in different ways, right, based on how that team plays and the players they have. But overall, it was great to get in games against, a lot of the different teams in the league. I think I played against pretty much every single team in the OHL at that time.
Now, jumping ahead a little bit, you took a little bit of time off after your career ended, but before we get there, another trade happened. You end up in Niagara for a little bit. Just talk about wrapping up your career with the Ice Dogs.
Yeah, Niagara was great. The year I was traded there, we actually had a fantastic team. On paper, we were probably the best team in the league. We went all the way to the OHL final that year. We were the Eastern Conference champions that year. Unfortunately, I was dealing through another concussion during those playoffs, so I wasn't able to get into the action like I wanted to. That was a really big mental block for me, and dealing with that. That was really tough because, as a player, when you invest so much time for your team, and you get so close with such a great, so close with a group of guys, and you go so far and you do so much together, to kind of have that taken away from you. And obviously it was nobody's doing. I was healthy at one point during those playoffs before the final, but it's tough to step into a team that's rolling, that's doing so well, especially on the magnitude of the OHL final. But with regards to that whole season and the time that I spent there, I really enjoyed the time there. The town's great. The locker room was great. Our team was great. I had such great teammates and roommates and stuff. So, one thing I think that gets overlooked as well, that adds to any young player's situation, is their billets. And I was blessed enough where I had unbelievable billets the whole entire time. And, it really made my time there easier and more enjoyable.
Now, obviously, not a lot of players get the luxury of becoming a 16-year-old and playing in the OHL all the way till they're 20, but now looking back on it, what are some of the things you kind of learned as a player during those 4 years?
I think for a player like myself and what I brought to the table, the essence of hard work. And, every player that plays in the OHL gets there through working hard. It doesn't matter how good they are. If you don't work hard, it's simple enough, you're just not going to get there, right? Obviously, there's a bunch of different types of players in the whole league. You got skill guys, power guys, two-way guys, defensemen, forwards, right? Just anywhere you go, there's going to be a magnitude of different types of players, and that obviously is what makes good teams, right? Instead of just having the same type of player. But yeah, I learned working through adversity, working hard, and being in the OHL my young years, it really, I was learning and understanding the business side of hockey too. Obviously, as a minor hockey player, you don't really get to experience that, but as you move up to major, junior, and semi-professional, professional, you really start to learn and get a grasp of the business side of hockey, which isn't often spoken about. And I was lucky enough to learn both through good ways and the hard ways about the business side of hockey.
Now, obviously, take a couple of years off after your OHL career ends and then end up in the ECHL. And we've talked about this story a couple times here at the BTNL camp, but can you take the fans through your first game with the Newfoundland Growlers? Because I heard you might have gone viral in a third period.
Oh, so that year, so first off, I had another year at junior, luckily, in another junior year. Just lucky to have an extra OA year. Did extremely well there. I ended off that season, on a high. And, due to personal reasons and some things that went on the next season, I decided to have to take that year off. So that year that you're talking about, I started that year making the team out of training camp, Iowa, the Iowa Heartlanders. And then anybody who knows that league knows how that league works, right? So, guys get sent down from the A and the NHL, and then, you kind of got to go find a new spot. So my first game actually with Newfoundland was on New Year's Eve. And it wasn't the game that we're talking about. I know that one. That one was the second time I got called with the team. So that was a little bit of a weird year during COVID. certain things could happen, certain things couldn't happen. Guys could come up and down, and guys couldn't. Right? It was a really weird time for the world overall, let alone just hockey. But yeah, first game with Growlers was unbelievable. I walked into an amazing situation, and I really got a taste for like, holy crap, this is an unbelievable spot, unbelievable organization. So that first game was in Adirondack. You're in New York, not New York City, but you're in New York on New Year's Eve. I think they probably had like 8,000 fans or something, 9,000 fans that night playing. And, I wanted to do something memorable, being my first game with the Growlers. So, I was playing a good game. Was really enjoying myself. I was playing a lot of minutes, getting a lot of time out there. And then in that game too, I also got into a really sick fight against another really tough competitor, really big guy, and things ended up well for me in that fight. But with that being said, it definitely was super close and super fun. Yeah, just when you're across from another respectable, tough opponent who knows, I guess, the code or whatever the hell you want to call it. It makes there's a level of fun to that, and overall that whole night was unbelievably fun. The story behind that night of how I even got there is I was actually at my friend's place in Edmonton. Didn't have my equipment, didn't have anything on me at all. And then I just got a random call. We were out for lunch having a couple drinks, and I got a random call from the director of personnel for the Leafs. And, I just, hey, Nick, we want to have you here for tonight. Any chance you can take a flight? So I'm like, sure, yeah, let's do it. So I go from Edmonton, meet the team in Trois-Rivières, because that's where they were traveling from that night. And then my dad had to pack my equipment, drive 6 hours to Montreal and 6 hours back, literally just to meet me at the airport before I went to Three Rivers. And it just, coincidentally enough, without even talking to him on the phone, I walk out of the airport just as he's coming in with my equipment, like, holy shit, like, this is crazy. Grab my equipment, get into the limo or whatever, the car that they called for me, and off I was.
Now, take us through that second game. Obviously, there's ups and downs in the ECHL in that second game and the fans will hear this, but you didn't play until the third period of that game. So take us through how that day went for you.
Yeah, so that was a fun game. So I started off that day. My best buddy, Wade Allison, was just coming off an injury, playing his first game of the season in Buffalo against the Sabres that day. So I go with one of my buddies. We go over the border. We're all super excited to see him play. Having beers all day, having fun, enjoying ourselves. And then I get a call again from the director of personnel with the Leafs. Hey, Nick, we need you. Do you want to come? Can you make it in tonight on the flight? We play. We're on a road trip. We gotta get you in here. So I was like, you know what? Absolutely. I'm in again. I love playing for that team. I love the guys on the team. It was awesome. So I get there. I go to Buffalo Airport, just the clothes on my back. Same sort of situation, only a little closer. My dad meets me in Buffalo just before the flight. I almost missed the flight, but luckily I got a little help from the people that work there. Got right through, got my bag on there. My dad met me at the airport. And then we're in the air. This was during the Kansas City. They were in, I think, the semifinals in the NFL. So they're playing the game. I was flying into Kansas City. They're playing the game on the flight. They're, handing out free beers. So we're having more beers on the flight. We're having fun. Everybody's having a great time on the flight. I saw what time the game time was, and I saw what time I was expected to land, which was after the game started. So I'm like, okay, arguably and assumably, I'm not going to be playing in this game tonight. I'm going to be playing in tomorrow's game, the game after. They were on, I think, like a 6-game road trip. So that game, I'm just somehow in the air, randomly get some connection. And I text Dixon, and I was like, hey, and I text Trevor Murphy, the GM of the Growlers. It's like, hey guys, like, you know, just in the air, I'm about 30 minutes from landing, got some service, just thought I would text you guys, let you guys know. They both texted me back, they're like, great, good to know. Just so you know, you've been put on the roster for tonight, so once you get to the airport, find the car that's waiting there for you, get in there, get to the rink, come through the back, get dressed. Like, okay, fuck, I'm playing. Stop drinking the beers. I'm in, start drinking some water, start getting ready. I didn't even have time to eat, so I'm just pounding some waters, getting in there, and so yeah, I get in there with 9 minutes to go in the second intermission. Start meet and greeting everybody again, reconnecting with everybody, throw on my shit super quick. First thing, I get a helmet that was way too big, so going on the helmet, and like the helmet's like bobbling all over my head, and we got that issue fixed. But it's hilarious. I'm trying to skate around the rink and guys are looking at me like, who the fuck is this guy, right? Helmet bobbling, fix that, get on the ice, start the period. Face-off comes, I have guys asking me like, have you been here all game? Like, when did you, like, were you sitting on the bench? It's like, no, I literally just got here, got on the ice. So long story short of that night, yeah, I ended up getting into like 3 fights in a period. And one of those fights, it was a nothing fight, but another one of those fights was actually a fight that went viral. And I don't know, it was either the Bar Down media company or whatever that posted it on TikTok, or somebody else did, and they, you know, reshared it. But yeah, it ended up getting like over 1 million views, or almost 2 million views, or something like that. And yeah, that was a fun night, and I like to refer to that as the most East Coast Hockey League story that you could probably think of. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely probably up there. Now, over the last year and a bit, while still playing, you also took on the role of head coach here at BTNL. Just talk about your role here, and we'll get into pro camp in a little bit. But
yeah, this place is amazing. You know, I've been here for probably 8 or 9 years now. As I was a player, I was training here. Then I had the opportunity to be a volunteer coach, and then again an assistant coach officially for you know, the old coach that was here. I was lucky enough to learn a whole bunch, you know, be exposed to a whole lot of different players, you know, a whole lot of you know, the training side of hockey. I also ran my own pro shop for a few years while I was here, so that introduced me to the technician side of the game. So really, I've been blessed enough to be around every aspect of the game of hockey. And then, you know, things just so happened where I was brought in as head coach here, and yeah, things have been amazing here. It's been really enjoyable. You know, I've been here for so long, so that's been one of the things for me that's been you know, kind of special, because all the relationships I've built here, everything that I've done here, all the time I've spent here, all the sweat that's been poured in here. So yeah, it was a really special thing for me, and I've been really blessed with that opportunity to be the head coach here.
now, obviously, we're here week 2 of the 6-week pro camp. Lots of things going on. The great jerseys we have behind us, and we'll touch on that a little bit. One guy that's one of the big sponsors is Be Clutch, custom with Jesse Kirschenbaum. Just talk about the relationship you guys have there, and bringing Jesse in to get all the awesome apparel.
Yeah, well, first off, I've known Jesse for like 10 years, maybe even longer. He's always been sort of like an older brother to me. We've always had a really close relationship, and you know, he's it's funny enough too, because he was the creator and the founder of the Bar Down clothing company, which back in the day at BTNL, he was a big sponsor here. So, you know, when he moved over to Be Clutch, and based on his and I's personal relationship and the fact that he had a relationship here at BTNL in previous years, I just thought that it was overall a you know, a no-brainer to bring him in, and you know, he was excited to come in as well, and things just so happened that he was able to do our jerseys, our shirts, our hats, and our apparel, and everybody has absolutely loved what he was able to do for us this year, and everybody's benefited from it, and we're super grateful for the relationship with him, because he's obviously a total pro at what he does, and he is. We refer to him as the fashion mogul, because that's what he is.
Now, obviously, with the pro camp, there's a bunch of big names here: Wade Allenson, Ryan McLeod, and a bunch of junior guys like Malcolm Spence, who's in his draft year. How special is to see those guys out here working every day?
Well, it is, because I've been working with these guys ever since I was training here. So like I mentioned, I've been here for a long time as a player. That's when I started creating all my relationships with these guys. And then over the years, I've been blessed with meeting a bunch of other guys here. And, you know, a lot of them have decided to stay over the years. And then when I made this shift and switch over to head coach here, they were all super excited and supportive about that. So, you know, we've had a lot of big names over the years and a lot of big names that decided to stay. And, you know, we just continue to produce the high quality training and give them what they need. And that's what they feel that they're getting. So, you know, it's special to me that, you know, guys like that trust me with their biggest investments, AKA their bodies.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on today, Nick. Really appreciate it. And lots more content coming from the BTNL camp the next 4 weeks here.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you having me on. It's been great to you know, be able to speak to some of the fans and whatnot as well. And, you know, Sam's here doing a great job at BTNL as well. We brought him on to you know, film and create our video series that we decided to do throughout our pro camp, so you can also catch that on my BTNL YouTube. You can find that on my Instagram, which is BTNL Sports Performance, Coach Pasto. And yeah, things have been going great here. We got a lot more content to pump out here, and we've been having an absolute blast. We're working extremely hard. Everybody is, from the head coaches to the pros, to Sam, to everybody. Everybody's putting a ton of work in, and really been enjoying the camp, and everything's been going, you know, super successfully up until this point, and we're going to keep that rolling from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, Pastor.
Awesome, Sam. Thanks, man.